kindergarten, and welcome to another writing lesson. We got our first writing task last week about visiting a special home and using our five senses. And today we're going to dive into a new writing task that has to do with all about our new book, Rap-A-Tap-Tap. Today we're going to study the prompt, do a little brainstorming, and then go straight into planning. Today, you will use your lined paper, maybe a pencil and or crayons if your teacher wants you to, and you might be submitting your work onto Seesaw as well. Your teacher might pause the video right now for you to get any writing materials they want you to use during this time. Repeat after me. Good writers think, tell, write, and draw. We're going to be doing all of these things today. We're going to be thinking, we're going to be telling, we're going to be doing some drawing and some writing. Dive into studying the prompt. In a moment, we'll find out what our new writing task is. But first, let's just walk through these thinking steps real quick. First, we're going to read the prompt. Then, we're going to find clues of who we're writing for, what we're writing. Are we writing a letter? Are we writing a story? How long it will be, and why are we writing it? Are we writing a narrative? Are we writing informative? Are we writing an opinion? We're going to skip step 3 of asking questions today. Our first step is read the prompt. So let's go up and read the prompt. Draw and label a 3-page story in which a child meets Bill Robinson. The story should describe what the child sees and hears. We'll use details from Rap-A-Tap-Tap. We just did step 1 of reading the prompt. Now, your teacher is going to pause the video and you're going to talk about who are you writing this story for, what type of story are you writing, and how long. You probably talked about you're writing this story for your teacher. You might also discuss that you're writing it for your teammates too, as when you get to the publish party, you'll get to share out for them. I know going back to the reading prompt, the prompt that we read for step 1, it says draw and label a 3-page story. I know I'm writing 3 pages, that's my length, and I'm writing a story. So I drew a picture of a story and I did the best I could to stretch out the word story with my imaginary rubber band, and I wrote 3 pages to remind me how long my story should be. Now, let's talk about the why, the purpose. Your teacher's going to pause the video and talk about, is this going to be a narrative, an informational, or opinion? Are you telling a story about something? Are you giving information? Or are you trying to convince someone of something you like? You probably said you're telling a story. I know going back to the reading prompt, it says draw and label a 3-page story in which a child meets Bill Robinson. So we're telling a story about a child. Now let's collect some evidence. We're going to name what we're writing. Then we're going to decide what details we need, how many, what kind, where we can find it, and decide how to sort them and find and sort the details we need. Going back to the reading prompt, it says draw and label 3-page story in which a child meets Bill Robinson, and the story should describe what the child sees and hears. Knowing we've been talking about our 5 senses, we're going to focus on what the prompt says that a child sees and hears. So your teacher's going to pause the video, review the text Rap-A-Tap-Tap, and come up with how you can describe details that a child would see and hear if they met Bill Robinson. So we know that we can go back in the text of Rap-A-Tap-Tap to find out what a child would see and hear, and we can sort by narrowing down to what the prompt says of the child seeing and hearing. So you might have said that the child would see Bojangles' feet because he tapped a lot. Maybe you talked about his hat or his cane. There are so many other things that a child could see when meeting Bill Robinson. Remember, Bill Robinson is Bojangles. For our sense of hear, you probably said you heard Bill Robinson tapping, because on every single page we saw that Bill Robinson was tapping, and on the pages it said rap-a-tap-tap. Think of that. That helps us better understand that Bojangles went to tapping. So we can take this information that we collected by using the text rap-a-tap-tap of a child being able to see Bojangles' feet and his cane and hat and hearing him tap, and bring it into our writing prompt of drawing and labeling a 3-page story in which a child meets Bill Robinson. Now let's map out our ideas. We're still in the planning phase. So first, we're going to decide what to map. Are we mapping the events? Are we mapping topic and details, opinions and reasons? Then we're going to make our map. Then we're going to write important ideas and add more important ideas. So today, we're going to decide to map out who the story is mostly about, your story that you're writing. Then we're going to also draw the setting. So your teacher's going to pause the video, review the writing prompt of draw and label a 3-page story about a child meeting Bill Robinson and describing what they see and hear, and talk about who the characters of your story will be and where it will take place. We know from the writing prompt that the writing task that you're going to do is going to be about a child. That might be you, it might be someone else you know, it might be an imaginary character. I have a character named Leah. I also know that my writing prompt told me that the child is meeting Bill Robinson. So Bill Robinson is definitely a character on my mapping. For my setting, I drew a bus stop. You see bus stops in the city, and when I went back and looked at Rap-a-Tap-Tap, I noticed that Bill Robinson was walking through different parts of the city and all over. So your setting might have been a little bit different from mine, but you might have had bus stop, you might have had the market, you might have had a stage. The setting could vary of where it takes place. Now, we want to collect important details of what happened in the beginning. What happened at the very first part of your story? What's going to happen in the middle of your story? And what's going to happen at the end? Your teacher's going to pause the video, review what happened in Rap-a-Tap-Tap, and give you an idea of what might happen in your story. In my story, Leah, she was standing in the city and enjoying the music of the band she heard. Then she saw Bill Robinson come tapping along, and then at the end, she danced with Bill Robinson. Your story might be the same as mine, similar, or different, and that's okay. Your writing, myself and your teacher did some modeling of what your writing task may look like. Now it's going to be your turn to map out what your writing is going to be. Remember, your writing task is to draw and label a 3-page story about a child meeting Bill Robinson and describing how they use their seeing and their hearing. So today, you're going to map out who your characters are going to be, where it's going to take place, and what happens at the beginning, the middle, and the end. Remember, you need to include what that child's going to hear and see. I can't wait to see the beginning of your writing in the planning stage. Bye, Kipsters.